on behalf of the Institute for Leadership and Strategic Foresight. Welcome to So You Want to Be the Chief, a podcast for leaders.
Well, today I'm honored to have Chief Allison Garces from you're from Georgia, I think, originally, right, Chief?
Well, it's my home of record. I was actually born in the Philippines. My dad is retired Air Force, so
Oh, is
you can
that right?
imagine. Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay. So
that
you're
so
Filipina? Is that what you consider yourself?
yes, half
Okay.
Filipino, half white.
Okay, very cool. I wrote a book that's out, and then everybody is welcome to buy it. It's called The Different Shade of Blue, and we did the Asian American Philippine Island. I can't remember, but anyway, it's available, and all of the proceeds, all of the profits go to the Air Force Aid Society. Just so you know, the next version
Oh,
you're going to be in it because now that I know you, I'm going to force you to do it. That's what chiefs do.
absolutely. Yes.
Well, again, welcome to the show. And you're a fairly young chief, right? I mean, I don't even remember being at your stage.
Yeah, so I just promoted 1 August of 23. So I'm a very,
Congratulations.
very, thank you, very baby chief in this.
Yeah,
So trying to navigate in this
yeah,
crazy world.
yeah.
And my situation is, I don't know, I don't want to say it's awkward or weird. Yeah, I'm reservist by trade. I've been in the reserves for 20 years. Specifically, I'm a IMA, and so I don't get to hang out with a lot of my fellow chiefs, given where my location is and such. So I do believe that being surrounded by your peers and growing from them and learning from them, it's an absolute necessity, especially when you are a young chief.
Yeah, and nowadays, Chief, the great thing about the technology is that I mean, you and I are connected. Where are you right now?
Locally, I reside at Charleston Air Force Base.
Okay, and I'm in Colorado Springs, more or less, outside of there. So kind of near Denver. So, I don't know I don't do numbers very well, but there's a couple of thousand miles between us. And we have the technology to be able to connect and to speak. And I hope, back in my day, we didn't have this. It's funny because a chair upstairs in my living room broke, and I was trying to get the people that I bought it from to fix it, and it's got some there. Like everything else, you can't talk to people anymore. You got to talk to the machine, right? And the machine automatically tells the person and all that kind of stuff. And as I was talking to this lady, I said, the machine says that I have a purchase, but it can't connect. And she said, well, when you bought it, we didn't have the technology that we have. And I'm thinking, what? I thought it hasn't all been here this whole time. A lot of it, but not all the time. So back in my day, we mentored chiefs eye to eye.
Yes.
When I was a senior master sergeant, things I can tell you that story some other time. But anyway, I was in some trouble, and this group of chiefs took me under their wing at Maxwell. I mean, that's the mecca for all enlisted forces, right? For all of the enlisted stuff that we do, and and they made me a chief, and it was eye to eye, eyeball to eyeball. Nowadays, luckily, we can meet up from far away and help each other. The habit or the lesson that we're talking about today is network, the verb, not the plug in the chords and all of that kind of stuff that requires that's required by technology, but networking. And
Hmm.
again, it used to be person to person, and now it's kind
Yes.
of person to person. But one day, although we haven't met the person to person, I hope that we can meet up and somewhere and have a cup of coffee at O'Hare. I keep meeting people at O'Hare Airport for some reason, so maybe we'll do that. But anyway, speaking of networking, let me. You've read the book. I know you've read the book, and you've read that chapter in particular,
Yes.
that lesson. Is it important, the networking? Now, and before you get to that, sometimes when we hear the word network, we're thinking of the good old boy network. Back
Mm.
in my day, we had the good old boy. You were not one of us. You're out, and you have worked with diversity and that type of subject matter. Is networking okay? Is that can we use that word? And is that important as a chief?
Absolutely. I think it's relative to what we do, and especially when as you progress in the ranks and you are a chief now, right? Because you've seen a lot, you've done a lot, you've met people through your entire career. I'm no expert in any means. You know, I like to think my trade craft is administration 3F5. You would think that I would know everything being a chief in my own career field. But like you said, technology, policies, regulations, they're constantly changing. And I don't have the bandwidth to continuously go on the internet and look at things like this. So networking is important, because if I know somebody who may be a more subject matter expert, I'm going to reach out to these individuals and I'm going to ask them the question, right? And for me, so I'm currently assigned to OSD at the Pentagon. And even though I sit in a 3F5 billet, I don't do 3F5 things. I work in military personnel policy. So all policies that regulate the DoD, that's what my office looks like. But the billet itself is a 3F5. So when people reach out to me because they know I'm sitting in a 3F5 billet and they're asking me questions about administration, I'm probably going to reach out to like my career functional, or I'm going to reach out to some folks who I know been in the career longer than I have, wing functionals, for example, because they are actually like in the weeds of what the career is. And I'm not. Yeah. You know, and I hate to say that, but I mean, let me full transparency, right? And I've been out of my career field, you could say, for almost I think it was 5 years. Prior to this, I was a first sergeant for 5 years, right? So you're not in the career field, right? You're not managing the career field. You're the people type of deal.
Right.
So I tried my best to stay in touch with my career field experts. But again, policies, regulations, AFIs are always updating. And my focus was first sergeant things. And so when I go back into the career field, I have to network back into the career field and integrate myself with my fellow 3F5s. So yeah, absolutely. It is an important key role in your career.
And it's funny because I've been retired about the same time that you came in. I came in. They threw me out. Chief, they threw me out. I didn't want to leave. They threw me out in 2002, which is the time that you came into the reserves, right? The service.
Yeah.
So things may have changed, but our chiefs in particular, because we're talking about chiefs, are they open-minded enough to network? Well, let me put it. I've read something on social media that I don't know how accurate it was, how telling, but the whole thing was I went to my chief, or I'm a chief, and I went to a fellow chief to ask for some advice, and that fellow chief said pretty much, go find out yourself. And I thought, wow, in my day, chiefs were tight, not in the way that we had that. Well, and we did. It was, I think, a good old boy network to some degree, but everybody helped each other out. And then while I was a chief, at least the people that I served with were more than willing to help another chief and everybody else, but particularly the other chiefs, because that's the group that we were more closely related to. Does that still happen when you ask someone, a fellow chief, for some help? Do they give you that, or do they give you the go find out yourself?
Yeah. Luckily, I have yet to run into an individual who has done that to me or to somebody else, right? I've been very fortunate to be in the presence of individuals, other chiefs, that were willing to actually take the time, invest energy into me, and we would sit down and have dialogue and talk about those issues. I'd be honest, I'd probably be lost for words if I approached a chief and they told me that go find the resources, go find out yourself. Like, I don't know what to say, honestly.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that it doesn't happen, and especially if you're a new chief and you're listening to the podcast right now, the key is, and I call it air power, HEIR power. Find folks, help them out, because that's what chiefs are supposed to do. Otherwise, you're not going to. Well, I guess everybody is eligible to be chief master sergeant of the Air Force, or if we got some space folks listening, I hope, chief master sergeant, that's still a chief master sergeant, right? Although they're guardians, but nonetheless, some people aspire to that stuff, and that's all they care about. But I hope that most chiefs are willing to help each other out, because that's what chiefs are supposed to be doing, helping each other out. And as we talk about groups, chief, and being I think it's DEI, I think is a term, right? The diversity and inclusion.
Where it's DEIA.
DEI. Okay. What? we're more, I'll say, more aware of that stuff. So is networking something that will work in that arena, or will it be a negative? You know, I think a real chief is not going to care whether you're black, white, green, yellow, purple, whatever it is. They're going to help you out. But are we separating ourselves when we talk about those things? You know, are women chiefs different than male chiefs?
Oh, can't speak for, and I don't want to speak for other individuals. So I can tell you for me, I don't think I'm different from a male chief. I'm still the same as I've always been. I just have an extra stripe on my chevron now. I wouldn't want to change who I am just because I'm a chief, because who I was growing up in the ranks is what got me there. It's who got me there, and I don't ever want to be somebody that I'm not. I'm try to be transparent. I try to be as authentic as I can. I don't ever want to feel like we have to separate the male chiefs because of a certain personality or an attitude, or females with a certain attitude or feelings and emotions and stuff, right? We're 1% of the Air Force. We're so small. I feel chiefs should come together when we need to come together and not play this good old boy system club, right? Because I feel it has a negative connotation, and it can be negative if you use it for the wrong reasons, right? For your power and your authority, right? But the networking piece of it can enlighten somebody's career. It can change somebody's perspective because of the networking. I didn't know this when I was growing up in the ranks. And I had a few people point it out. They were like, a lot of people. You may not be buddy with them and, have coffee and stuff. But the fact that you have a lot of acquaintances across active duty and the reserve command, you just know who to call. And I get that. Somebody will call me and say, Allison, I know you know somebody. Help me XYZ with whatever issue. And it's just kind of like, yes, like I will find somebody.
Yes.
But even with the whole DEIA spectrum, right? I'm fairly new into this type of world, right? Because I just started working on this portfolio with HAP 826 about, I don't know, maybe about 6 months now, right? So I'm still trying to learn and navigate it, right? But networking, right? We go back to networking. There's individuals that I can call within the reserve command or within the Air Force enterprise. Let's just go Air Force enterprise, right? When I speak it, there's individuals that may be more subject matter experts, and I may need to reach out to them and talk to them and like, how do you handle these difficult conversations, as we call it, right? How do you talk about the unconscious bias piece? And the networking thing, it's so informal. So it's like having these kitchen table conversations and dialogues when this type of subject is on the line, right? So yeah, I really think networking in any facet of your life, let's just put it that way, any facet of your life, marriage, personal, health, career, it works wonders.
Yes, it does. And as far as the chiefs being the guide for that, I think it's incumbent upon us to be aware of that. We need to do that. We need to be helping others all the time. But as the followers, let me give you an example. I was at Travis Air Force Base, I don't know, 20 years ago, speaking. And actually, it was for the CGO, the company grade officers, and there were a bunch of captains there, and we were talking about stuff, and we got to the point where I asked, "Are there any other questions?" and all that. And one of them was kind of not arguing, was concerned because I was talking about networking and the importance of that. And he says, the captain stands up and says, "Well, Chief, this is all fun and that's great, but in reality, I can't do my job." I said, "Really, sir? Why can't you do your job?" Well, and I don't remember. He was a logistician of some sort. He said, "But I need a truck. I've been trying to get a truck to move stuff because that's my job, and I don't have a truck to move it to where it needs to go to help others. And there's this other captain that says, wait a minute, I have a truck and it's sitting in my parking, my lot doing nothing. You need a truck? I have the truck. Let me, and perfect example. You guys aren't talking to each other, and not in the sense that they didn't want to talk. They just didn't think, hey, who might have a truck? Let me put it on Facebook. Probably not, but there's some kind of network within every organization. Let's talk to other people. And hey, I need a truck. And this guy says, I have a truck. And they were both happy. And I patted myself on the back, and they patted me on the back, and they gave me the plaque. But anyway, that happens often, doesn't it, Chief? Where I have this thing, but I don't know who might need it. And as a youngster, whether you're a chief or not, I mean, especially if you're not, think about that. Ask somebody. If nothing else, there's one of the lessons in the book is you don't know everything, but you probably know it. If you're a good chief, you should know pretty much everyone or someone that might help. And I love that. I've had that happen. There's a story in the book about someone calling me about a Coke machine, and it's like, I got nothing to do with Coke machines. But they called me and I fixed it. I fixed it because I knew somebody. I called somebody who called somebody who called somebody. So I think that's typical and important for a chief to know. This is what I need to do, is know people and be able to connect them, and not be afraid to connect them. Sometimes I think a chief's got to have some strength there that, yes, I'll do it. I don't know nothing about this, but let me try. And a lot of times you don't even know that you're calling the right person, and you do call the right person. So I'm surely you've had that type of experience.
Oh yeah. Actually in the more recent one. So I have a master sergeant in the reserve. He's intel, and he got picked up for deserving airmen, so he can commission, right? And so he reaches out and he's like, Chief, I'm just trying to weigh my options here. Like, it's an officer. It's a path that I've wanted to do for a long time, but my family's growing and ... He's like, can you help me see if tech school is waiverable for the officer intel? 14 in, I think, is what they are. What? Yes. Okay. So I have a friend that I reached out to, she's a UTM at McCord, and she works with Intel. She is the Intel AFSC. And I said, who can I contact? So she's like, we'll reach out to the MFM at Africa. This is the name. So I reached out, and they were like, you need to reach out to like the officer people, right? And I was like, wait. And, I'm embarrassed to say it, right? Because you think I would have known. I didn't realize that we had like career field managers for the officer side, but it makes sense, right? If you have enlisted career field managers, why wouldn't you have officers? And I was like, wait, we do? But anyway, so they gave me the POC, and I reached out, and they gave me the package, and they gave me like, hey, it's not guaranteed, but make sure you dot your I's, cross your T's, and like put everything in there, ... And I was like, this is perfect. Like, who would have known? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it still blows my mind today that I was able to get the information. And actually, I don't even know if he made his decision yet, what he wants to do. But the point is, he has the info, and he can move forward with whatever decision he decides to take, right? But the fact that he trusted me to find the info, and then I used that networking piece, even though it went from like Charleston to McCord back to Georgia. You know what I'm saying? But it worked, right? Just knowing one person, I feel, in your network system will give you the pathway that you need to get to the end result.
Right. And it feels so good when you do it, right?
It felt amazing. Yes.
My right arm sometimes is longer than the other one because I'm patting myself on the back. But that's okay because nobody else is going to do it. So, we got to do that for ourselves. Is there any, back in my day, Chief, and this is a long time ago, well, I won't ask you how old you are, but I came into the Air Force probably before you were born, 1972. Anyway, we had this, and there were stereotypes, and it wasn't, well, we we didn't like reservists much, us active duty folks. We nor a guard. One, we didn't understand them to begin with. And you know,
Sure.
the standards were not, and this is, I'm being straight up, the standards were not the same. The reservists didn't have the same standards as we active duty people did. But interestingly, I was at McGuire one time doing a talk for a Chiefs induction dinner. And as the Chiefs were coming on to the stage to be inducted and all that, I realized that I didn't know the difference. There were a bunch of reservist chiefs, you know, people that they were being promoted to chief, and they were reservists, and I spent some time with them. I didn't know the difference, and I thought, this is great, this is perfect, because there shouldn't be a difference. You know, in my day there was a difference, and now, you know, and especially the reserves and the guard have a lot of assets that they didn't have when I was on active duty. Eventually, we were smart enough to give it to them, and now we can't go to war without you guys, which are the going to war. We don't want to go to war if we don't have to, but if we have to, we got the reservists, we got the guard. So is there any prejudice there against either of the reservists or the guard?
I think unfortunately that stigma still exists within the components, and it's unfortunate, right? Especially if there is a host base that doesn't integrate with the reserve wing unit. So when they do deploy, they don't understand the mindset that we're coming from. I've been married to my husband for 15 years. Will be January 1st.
Oh, congratulations!
Happy early anniversary.
Yeah.
You know, and he sometimes still doesn't understand the nuances when it comes to the reserve component. And I sometimes don't understand active duty too, right? But I think that like that's what makes our marriage strong when it comes to our careers, right? Because he can always use me as somebody that like maybe one of his members may need to talk to about the reserve, or you know, somebody from active duty will reach out to me and I'm like, oh, I don't know. We talk to my husband, right? But unfortunately, I think that stigma still exists. You talked about when you went to the induction ceremony that you couldn't tell the difference, right? You're not supposed to tell the difference, right? Because as far as I'm concerned, our name tape, you know, it says U.S. Air Force or now Space Force, right? But it says U.S. Air Force. Like that shouldn't be a discriminating factor of what component that we're in, right? Because we're all supposed to be fighting for that one thing, right? Prosperity and freedom for America, right? We all put our lives on the line. Now, are we different in the sense that some of us are 1 weekend a month? Absolutely. But what we used to joke around with active duty is you get almost a whole month to do your CPTs and do your PT test and do all your training. My guys come in 2 days out of the month, and we have to jam pack that in 18 hours because we would be working overtime, right? Plus some of them are driving.
Yeah.
They're commuting almost 4 hours. So they spend half the time on the road as they are on at the actual unit. So, you know, maybe some grace to the reservists who are 1 weekend a month, but for the most part, we have just as much as hard as the active duty component. So yeah, it breaks my heart when I have to see that or I hear about it, right? And a lot of people, they don't, because I guess I've been doing majority of my career as an active reservist, even though I was majority TR through my career. When they found out that I was a reservist, they were shocked because they were like, how were you so professional and how are you so composed? And I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't realize reservists were not any of those things, right? But it's just environment, upbringing, who you surround yourself with, who are your mentors, right? So no, I don't want anyone to look at me and be like, oh, well, Allison's a reservist. I want to be just as equal as you are because I wear the same uniform.
Right. And that, I think, there's the networking can help that, I think, because we, you know, the more we do it, the more we accept each other. And that goes back to diversity and all that kind of stuff. You know, I don't care. When we go to war, we go to war together. In fact, all of the services, you mentioned the name tag, it says us Air Force, us Marines, us Navy, us against the enemy, whoever that might be. And it helps to have, whether it's, you know, networking as far as learning stuff about each other, or networking as getting everybody together so that we can go fight this war and win it. So yeah, we're all in this together, and I hope that technology doesn't take us or separate us, you know, because it can, you know, when you don't see each other face to face, and you don't touch each
Yep.
other. There's something about the spirit that is exposed when you talk to each other, when you touch each other. I've always said that, and back I was in PME for a while. The great thing about PME was that it brought us together, and we created this network. I still have friends that I went to PME with, and some of them actually owe me money. I ought to call them back. But anyway, chiefs are that way. They'll borrow money and never pay you back. I hate to say that, but I know a lot of them. But luckily, most chiefs say, "Hey, take the money. I don't need it anyway." So, but some closing thoughts, Chief, with networking, with being a chief. I can sense, I can see it. You're pretty proud of being although those stripes are huge for the chiefs now, for ladies especially. They're back in the day they were like a little smaller, and now it's the same size. It's like, wow. I
Yeah.
know Joanne Bass, and I see her stripes. I go, whoa, those are scary.
I know, and I'm not a very big person, so this, especially when I'm in my blues and they're sitting
Yeah,
here,
they're
it like
huge. Yeah.
holds up my entire floor. So yeah, they're huge. They are huge.
Have you had a good
But
time though being a chief?
yeah, somebody told me I was a chief prior to me actually putting on a chief. So I guess I've been
Exactly.
living it longer than
Yes.
I've actually been wearing the stripes.
Yes.
But yeah, absolutely. No, I love being a chief. There's obviously some distinction coming with it, right? But there's a lot of responsibility and
Yes.
accountability that you have to live by.
Yes.
And it's not just, for me, it's not just my character, right? That everyone sees. My husband works here on the base as active duty, so a lot of people know exactly who he is. So if I'm out there acting a fool and being crazy, it's not my name that's also getting tainted.
Yeah.
It's going to be his name too. So again, there's a lot of responsibility when you're wearing such a rank, but I love it. I hope anybody and everybody can strive for it. Everyone is eligible for it, right?
Yes.
You just have to find the right mentors. And I love that chapter too. And I was really torn between mentors and the networking piece, right? But again, you can network and find the right mentor for you. It just kind of comes back full circle.
Yeah.
But definitely being surrounded in the right environment to help you grow and have those individuals call you out when you are wrong, right? It's really going to strengthen and move you forward in life, career, personal, however you want to put it into context.
Yeah.
But I thoroughly enjoyed the session with you, Chief. Thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity. It was something I just could not pass up.
Well, thank you for being available, because
Yes.
you chiefs are just busy. You're having going out playing golf and at the club, and okay, you probably don't do that anymore. We used to do that.
Yeah, I'm not really a golf person. My husband is, but so he might be. He's gonna get set up for chief flying.
Exactly.
Because he's already playing golf. So
exactly. What team development, I think, is what we call it, or something like that. Back in the day, we used to call it boondoggle, but things have changed. Thank you. You're great. Continue to do that. Don't let anybody mess with you. You're a little person, and but you got those big stripes. So just tell them, look at this, and I'll take care of it.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
God bless you.
You too. Thank you so much. Bye.